My name is Rachel Brindle. I'm here through the Australian Volunteers for International Development program, which is an initiative of the Australian Government. I'm working in the Ministry of Education in the ECCD and SEND division as an early intervention advisor. The first 5 years of a child's life is the optimal time for their brain and development. So it's a really important time that they have good food, good family connections, and are able to start building for lifelong learning. Parents have a huge role to play in the early child care development for their children. So in regards to care, it needs to be thinking of their health, their nutrition and their protection. And it's also an optimal time to start developing their language and their thinking skills, their social skills. So parents and communities have a huge role to play for children's development. A society and the community that a child grows up in is really important. Children start developing their perception of the world from a young age, and so the community around them is illustrating what life is like. So for them to see good role models in regards to behaviour, relationships, starting to communicate, understanding a lot of language is really important. And that doesn't just sit with the family, that's all the community. There's often a saying of it takes a village to raise a child, and it really is true. Communication is really important for children, and if we think about it, babies start communicating with us, right from the very beginning. They cry when they're unhappy about something, if they're hungry or they need to be fed, and that's the beginning of communication. And as children develop, they develop further communication skills. They learn to use language, and they use that language to protest, to ask for things, to comment on things, to inquire and find out more information. So we need to make sure that children have the opportunity to develop language from the very beginning and have a shared language with their family and community. Children need to be nurtured and need to be supported from the very beginning. If children don't have access to strong language and communication and social supports, there can be lifelong impacts, because in those first few years, that's when the foundations develop. So it's really important that families and communities support the care and the development for their children. For children with disabilities, it's really important, like all children, that they have the support in care and development. So it's really important that the families embrace their child and make sure that they have the opportunities that all children do. So that might be about going to an ECCD centre when they're 3 years old. That's really important. No one should be excluded from going to an ECCD centre. Some children with disabilities might need additional support or different support. So let's say a child who is deaf, it is important that they have access to Bhutanese Sign Language from the very beginning, and that means their family needs to be learning, as does their community needing to learn to sign. If you have a child with cerebral palsy, it's really important that they access physiotherapy support. So there might be some different supports needed for children with disabilities, but like all children, they need the love, the care and the support of their family and their community. And it's also important about acceptance and inclusion. So if we want to be an inclusive society, that begins at the very beginning. So we need to be including children with disabilities from birth in ECCD centres and making sure they have opportunities like everybody else. I've been living in Bhutan for 18 months now, and I have seen some wonderful examples of children with disabilities included into ECCD centres, but unfortunately it's not enough. I am aware that a lot of children aren't going to ECCD centres, or don't feel, their families might not feel that they should be going or they have the right to go. So I certainly hope in the future that people are aware that going to ECCD should be for all children. There should be no exclusions. For parents who have a child with a disability, it's important that they're aware of supports and services that are available. So Ability Bhutan Society, which is a CSO, is supporting children and their families with disabilities, and that's really one organisation that does some great support there. If a child does have a disability, it's really important that the family goes to see a paediatrician and gets the medical support that they might need. But the most important thing is inclusion, and inclusion in society, in their community, going to ECCD centres with other children. Every child has the right to be educated, to be loved and cared for. If a child has a communication impairment, it's really important that their hearing gets checked, so that can be done at the National Referral Hospital. And when a child reaches the age of 3 years, they should be starting ECCD. It shouldn't be delayed for later. Transition from home to school can be a big adjustment for children, and ECCD provides a wonderful transition because it gives them the opportunity to start learning, and that's not from an academic point of view, but looking at understanding routine, following instructions, playing with other children, engaging with other adults and children. And so that includes for children with disabilities, making sure that that transition is available. It's wonderful to see that ECCD here in Bhutan is growing. At the moment, we're still less than a quarter of children attending ECCD centres, but with the plans of developing more ECCD centres, hopefully that will grow in time to come. As for children with disabilities in ECCD centres, I've observed some wonderful examples of children being included in ECCD centres, which means inclusion in their community. I hope to see more of this in Bhutan, because to be an inclusive society, we need to make sure that everyone is included in all aspects of community, and that includes children attending ECCD centres. I've had the opportunity to talk to parents who have children included in ECCD centres. These are children with disabilities, and it's really positive to hear some of the comments that the parents make of the developments that their children are making and the inclusion of them. I've also heard from parents of children without disabilities saying that they really appreciate the sense of inclusion because that's what society is, and we should be reflecting that from the very beginning at a young age. Because if we show what inclusion is from the very beginning, then that's life. Whereas if we exclude children, it looks like there's something negative. The importance of children going to ECCD centre is that it allows them the opportunity to have facilitated play. And play is children's work. It's how they're going to develop the foundations that they need for school. So ECCD, there's a lot of play, there's a lot of storytelling, singing, dancing, and also playing with other children. And that gives them a strong foundation for school. So it's not about learning to read and write at a young age, it's about learning through play. And through play is a fun way, but it's also a way to build the skills that they'll need later in life.
My name is Namgethai. Pasta and cheese are my favorite food.
Yeah, Namgethai, computer ki spelling gazumo?
Computer.
Wow, clap. Zai.
My son has been here from February in this ECCD. Till he joined ECCD, he has not much gone out. Only friend he used to have was his cousin, and for him that was his best friend, because he had only one friend in fact. So after coming here, you see, he has actually met more number of friends. When he comes home in the evening, he says, I have this many friends, these names. And then 3 weeks ago, he was little sick, and we couldn't send him for 3 days. And he was actually, raring to come. He said, I miss my friends, I miss my teachers, so I have to go to school. So that way, every morning we don't have an issue of, he not willing to go. So far we have not, encountered that. Actually goes on to show that, the team at ECCD is doing a lot to make the children comfortable, because secure. That's what I mean, the suppression anxiety. I think probably, that is not there. At least in my son, I have not seen. He is very happy to come here, and I think he's learning. And it's obvious from when he comes home and the activities he does at home, it's very obvious that he's learning and he's enjoying his stay at ECCD. So through this package, I've realized that by sending our children or our kids to ECCD, firstly, the ECCDs actually help us to look at child's development, and including detecting any delays or abnormalities. So for instance, a 5 years old child is expected to perform higher complex or complexity task compared to a 4-year. So that way the ECCDs can actually report that your child is 4 years, but he is not able to do it, or she is not able to do it, or similarly the higher age. And the other one is by sending our children to ECCD, if there are any delays, say suppose specific needs, example maybe speech problem, language problem, or even say hearing, so those even can be detected early, so that we can actually send or refer to appropriate professionals. That is the first thing I felt that is important, because at this point rest is secondary. But then the second reason why, and I feel that is also important, is because we are preparing our children for next stage of life. That is, we are preparing them for schooling, and for that, they basically the ECCD actually prepares them or gives them this set of essential skills, which would be very handy when they actually enter school. Maybe to namely just go to. Few would be like building self-confidence, because children quite often they don't have that. So by enrolling in ECCD, actually through many interaction, through learning process, so they actually build their self-confidence. The other one is, I thought was, they actually, at least my son, I certainly realized now he actually looks at himself as different identity. He feels that he has own identity, not like his mother or mine. So that way I thought that creation of self-identity at this point is also good, because that's how child will actually grow into confidence. And then other one I thought that very important skill I thought was that suppression anxiety, because till they go into school or ECCD, they are always with parents or caregivers. So by sending them to ECCD, there is a gradual overcoming of this anxiousness, suppression anxiousness, and of course literacy, that is like more academics, so the numbers they learn. And also I thought one important aspect or the skill was the social skills, which is ultimately one of the cornerstone of anybody's life. So that is there, and of course the self-care. These are all different but very important skills, and these skills are all possible at ECCD. At home it's possible, but I think the level and the degree and the effectiveness would be more here in ECCD. That's the second one. And the third one is I felt that whatever activity they design in ECCD, they always have an objective behind. And then the objective is like mainly I thought was they actually try and challenge the child to pick up certain skills. One activity they always try and keep in that particular skills. So that's why I feel personally these are the three things I found, and I found them very useful. Before he actually entered the ECCD, we used to have some issues at home with him, right? And then one was that self-confidence thing. It's not that he has picked up so much, but he has definitely picked up from where he was, just say prior to February. Now he has picked up. That's I'm very happy about that. And also, you know, now the ECCD actually they do monitoring, and then they actually have given us 2 or 3 feedbacks. And then the good news is he is doing well for his age. So this is also, you know, a good information for a parent like us, because we are a little anxious whether our children are, you know, doing okay or not, you know, whether he or he is growing with his contemporaries around.
Thank you. Go to Zonka class now. Zonka.
There's a lot of research being done, especially from this center called the Harvard. I think I pulled it out. This is called the Harvard Center for Developing Child, and in it says that between a child's brain develops 90% of the brain is developed by the time before their age 5. So what we do here is we come up with activities based on the 6 developmental milestones that will help in the brain development. So brain and as a whole body development, holistic education is what we go for. The other thing as an ECCD center, besides instilling joy and learning and giving them experiences more, one of our main jobs or responsibility is also to try and help catch the learning disabilities that we might miss out. Because our learning age, like our school-going age, our actual school-going age in Bhutan is 6. And by the time they're 6, they go to school, PP, mola. And when they get there, most of the children, they don't go through ECCD. They are immediately put into the primary level, mola. And by then, like according to this, they have already developed their brains, mola. And we haven't caught on to what we should have caught on to. So we do that, and the way we do it is using this tool. It's called the ASQ, Ages and Stages Questionnaire, and it's a set of questions that researchers have put years of research behind it, and a set of questions that help screen out the learning disabilities that we might miss out if the children are directly put into primary school. And the questionnaire are done by the parents. We help them, but the parents do it because parents know their children best. And what happens after that is, after the screening and after we find out that a child might be having some learning disabilities, then what we do is we refer to people like Rachel. She's an early interventionist from MOE. We also have a specialist from Singapore who works with us. She's a speech and language therapist. Her name is Jean, and we got to know her from ABS. So what we do is we refer them to specialists because we cannot handle them. We don't have the skills, so we hand them over to the specialists. Also the hospital helps out. They have physiotherapists there. We have some children with I think physical disabilities, so we hand them over. They'll come over, they'll guide us, and they'll teach us, give us some skills, and then we help them that way. What I would like for parents from this session, Mola, is for the parents who have not participated to please participate, become more aware of what's happening in your child's life, and then we can help them become better citizens, future citizens of our country.